Right. So this week we have Jim Cropper on. I'd imagine not too many people will not know who he is. Everybody sort of knows the name. So Jim Cropper from England. Before we go any further, outside of dogs, was there ever anything you were into outside of dogs, or has it always just been dogs?
Just well, I've been farming 1,000 sheep nearly all my life, like really, that's what brought me into the dogs because I were thrown in at the deep end. My father bought a big lump of land and said, "There, go shepherding." Well, I'd no dog, no, I didn't know how to get the sheep in very well. So I bought myself a young dog. I looked around and I found this young dog, and it brought me on. I was totally lost with the sheep job or doing more running than the dog at first. So I enjoyed it right through my life, sheep job. But then I started with two young dogs. In fact, I'm looking at them now. They're on the wall. It's a painting a fella did of me when I'd won Royal Lancashire Show. I won the doubles. They were called Bonnie and Clyde. These two dogs. I bought them.
Yes.
I bought them from Scotland, and I called them Bonnie and Clyde. And luckily, they turned out absolute perfect. And I started winning trials, and I got the bug, and I whooped. Then the sheepdog job, and it really got me going, and I traveled. I got eventually traveling the world, all over the world. I've been to America, New Zealand. I've been to Canada and France and Germany. I've traveled all over because I bought two dogs that changed my whole life. You know.
Yep. Yeah. So everybody, I think, sort of, if anybody associates your name, that's Bonnie, Clyde, Fleet. There's them three dogs that people seem to.
I
For
well,
me, myself, anyway, it's the three dogs that associate.
I wrote a letter once to a chap called Tom Bonella, and he had this dog pup to sell, and it was £20 delivered to the station, my local train station from Scotland, Kinross. And I said yes. I sent his money, and sure enough, the dog came. He was called Fleet, and I started to take him to stock when he was 6 months old, and he'd no interest in nothing. He was just a big daft pup. And I were up the field one day, and all of a sudden, this dog stretched out and showed the greatest style I've ever seen in my life. And I come back, I said to my father, I said, "This dog's going to work." I said, "You should have seen it creep up on them sheep." "Hey, all right, oh," I said. Anyway, I started to train it, and I won countless trials with him, absolutely countless. He'd no fear of stopping or nothing. He was the most courageous, absolute. If anything attacked him, he hadn't a reverse gear in him. He was a good dog. And I went to a few trials, won everything. Then I went to the first trial I went to. I was with a friend of mine, Tony Island, watching these dogs, and I saw this here sheep come out at the top of the field. He was a mm, big orange sheep, and he chased this young dog, not my dog, the man before me. He chased him all over the field, and he had to retire, of course. And about a few runs after, I went on to the post, stood at the post, looked at the field, and what should come out on top but this great big horn sheep. Well, it started to pretend to chase my dog, and I thought, yeah. Anyway, he stood his job and just nipped it smartly on the nose, and the sheep walked in the field like a pet lamb and won the trial. Well, everybody talked about that and thought it was the best thing that happened and all sorts. And from there, I went on to travel the world. and I had a great man I used to travel with. He were best friend I've ever had in my life, and he were Thomas Longton's father, called Tot Longton.
Hmm.
Yeah, travelled all over with Tot, and he learnt me a lot. He was the finest man penning wild sheep I've ever seen in my life. He were good. And we went to 5 trials in one day. He said, I booked them all, these 5 trials. I said, oh. So we started off at Brinskill and then we went to Shap. And I won Brinskill without me knowing. Of course, we were on at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then we went to Shap after. And I stood in Shap there. And it absolutely rained harder than what you'd ever believe. The rain were coming down that hard, and I went to the post and I picked my sheep up at the far end, and the sheep, would be raining so hard, just waddled round the field slow and come to the last hurdle. I opened the pen gate, and the sheep looked and saw me opening pen gate and ran like 3 racehorses, thinking that I opened some from the shelter, and they went in there.
Yes.
And I won that trial with no points off at all, not a point off. The judges judged me absolutely full of points. And went on to Winton and Alston, first and second at Alston with Bonnie and Clyde. Then I went on to Winton at the end, and we did 5 in a day. I won Winton. I won all the trials nearly that day. It was a great day out. I have it written down somewhere, and I would be able to tell you, but it's upstairs in the flitting. Yeah.
No, it's funny you should say that. I was at a trial there on Saturday, and there's a fella I'm friendly with in the sheepdogs, Johnny Farmer, and I was saying to him I was going to be having a chat with you. And there was another fellow with us, Declan McGee, and he's sort of new to the dogs. And Johnny Farmer, he had said, he said, if you're talking about greats of sheepdogs, he says, you cannot talk about the greats of sheepdogs without having Jim Cropper in it. And he says, there's one day, he says, I read somewhere, he says, there's one day him and that's what he said, Tot Longton went to 5 trials, he says, and between the two of them, they won the 5 trials that day. And it's funny you should mention that because we were talking about it the Saturday, like,
Yeah.
that's us over in Ireland.
They were good dogs. They were tough dogs, but they were good. They were anything, nothing fast them. Yeah, and then of course I got Sid, and he won well. I won't. I don't know. How many Sid won? He won probably 100 open trials. He won quite a lot. He said every time out, and he were bad to beat. Were said he were good. And then I had another dog called the second fleet. I won Bamford with no points off with him, not a point off. I've done it 3 times. I've done it with Clyde, the 2 fleets, no points off at all.
And do you know at the time? Do you know at the time you're thinking to yourself, "There's no points coming off here"? Or do you think maybe, "Oh, it's a high score, but there'll maybe be a point or two off"? Or do you know, like this is perfection at the minute?
I had that feeling when I got halfway around. I thought, I'm going to win this, and I'm not going to make one mistake. And they were coming round me to go to the pen, and this one sheep just looked at me and did a bit of a funny trick. And the judge said, I were going to knock you half a point off there. He said, but I decided it was such a good run. He said, I thought I'd leave it alone. And yeah. I've trialed all over. I've been to America a lot and Canada. I've enjoyed that. They had a lot to learn the first time I went. It was absolutely useless. You couldn't explain how bad they were. And then after I've been going years and years, of course, they got blooming good, did the Americans. They're very, very good now. They're bad to the Continentals, and Americans now are good. They were just novices at first.
They're nearly getting too good these days, so they are.
There's lots of young people coming on. I don't trial anymore, of course. Now I'm done for. Like my legs is gone, but I admire such like as Kevin Evans. He's absolute perfection. He's good, and Ricky Uchi is coming good. Like there's a few good young lads coming on that are pretty good. Yeah, nowadays I don't think I could say I could beat them.
That's just I don't know. I don't know. They there are some of them older handlers there. Say that yourself, and the names in the gone by days. Like, aye, there's not too many people. There's not too many people will be beating these. I would say still.
Well, if I could get to the post and use myself, I would try.
Aye.
But my old legs has gone. I've been on them too long. I think I'm 84 and done too much.
84. Well, funny you're saying about your legs being going there. It was international 2018 or 18, I think it was in Northern Ireland. You probably don't want to say, but that's single. You don't like you maybe weren't in great form with your legs, and in the shed ring, obviously you're a wee bit sore, and you call the dog in, and everybody knows about it. Like, I don't think there'll ever be a single as good. Like, there was no room. There was no room, and you made the room.
Oh, he made the room. Yeah, we're a tough little dog. Him. One of the trials with Dan. Yeah, we got with Ricky Uchi's dog. Nice young dog he was. Yeah, in fact, I still have him. He must be 10, 11-year-old now. He's a good hill dog. I go out on the hill with the buggy, and he's a good dog yet. He's Dan. Yeah.
No, I remember that time just seeing that, like, and I think you heard the whole grandstand. It's just the noise come out of everybody. It just, I'd say 90% of the other dogs would probably would have gripped on, and he didn't grip. He just come clean through.
Yeah, a tough dog he was, but that trial, I thought I'd done a good job of penning and everything, but the pen, I was shutting the gate, and they said I left it open 4 inches open and didn't quite slam it too, and the miss,
Well, tell me this then. You've mentioned some of your dogs there, and Jesus, the amount of dogs you could list of like. This is probably my first time speaking to you personally, but I probably know about half a dozen of your dogs. What would you say was the best dog you ever had of all the dogs?
I think the second fleet, not the first one. The first one I bought as a pup. The second one. He was a great dog. He was a great dog, and I were out shepherding one day on some sheep road, and he tried to help me to get him off, and this bloody car come round the corner, ran clean over him and killed him. He was about 4 years. He'd been in team. He'd been all that was the one I had full house points with and everything. He were good at it. Yeah. But
and was that in the 90s or 80s, or when was he on the go?
It'd be the 90s, wouldn't it? I would think, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He was a good. And then
no. And that was Cap or Clyde, did you say? Or what was it?
That was Sid.
Sid, yeah. And how was he bred, or?
Sid was I forget who bred him now. A nice, good bred dog. You got with that dog of Glenn Jones's. I forget the name of dog. Glenn Jones's dog. Anyway, a good dog.
Yeah.
Really good dog.
Nope.
And it knocked a big hole in my dog career, that, because I tried so hard and I had won. I had definitely won the trial, but the judge just like absolutely came for nothing. I had a real. Yeah. I sent a friend, Tony Alley, and I said, I sent him the video or something, and he said, he was absolutely disgusted. Yeah. That's my house dog barking.
Hey, stop barking. I know Bart, no Bart. They right. So you say your second fleet would have been the best dog you've had. Uh, what would you say would have been your favorite international course of all the over the years? What course is the one that stood out to you has been the best course?
Well, I've run at Bala twice, and I was second first time at Bala, and I won. I was second at World Trial at Bala. I won. Yeah, Bala's a big course. Yeah, uh, that were quite good for Bala.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no bother. Uh, and then you went on there. You were saying about your dog. It had started. He had no reverse on him. If a sheep stood to him, he had no bother coming in with pushing on sheep. Did you work with them sorts of dogs? A good hard pushy dog, or
I
did
had,
you sort of just whatever you got your hands on, you took?
yeah, I had to do really because the ground we run on is like you need to get your sheep home, and it's rough moor and it's blow grass and bent ground, and with packs of sheep, we had to have a dog what were pushy, help you out a lot. Yeah.
Nope, nope. And you were saying there obviously before we started recording, deer play. Uh, that's run by yourself. I take it that would be your favorite open course, I assume then, would it be? Or
Do you play? Oh,
it'd be your favorite open trial, would it be?
yeah. It's very. I've won it myself once, but I don't. I didn't run it much because people talk if you won your own trial. Once
Yep.
I've won it once, I just left out, and it was a good course, deeply, very good.
All right, and you have a pen, don't you, at that trial? As a pen that lets the sheep out, is that right? Or
At the top, yeah.
aye,
We had a pen on right on top of the hill. We let the sheep out, yeah.
aye,
Aye,
that's good job.
it's well set up. We had some good trials. We did. And now it's Linda's memorial, my daughter's next time, and who
Yes,
died. I lost my daughter, and it's her trial now. We've put it down to, I think it's going to be Linda's trial.
yes, yeah, yeah. No, the I seen that on Facebook actually. There was a memorial trial held there as well, wasn't there, a year or two ago as well?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The well, tell me this then. If you're judging at a trial, obviously you want a perfect run or whatever. But is there anything in particular you had hard if you're judging that you think maybe a dog going too wide at the feet or maybe not shedding right, or is there anything in particular that if you're judging you really that needs to be done right?
No, if it's not done right, the dog won't be much good. It'll let you down. I think the dog's got to be pretty firm all the way around. You get a lot of dogs might have a lucky day, but that could be a dog has to be pretty good
Aye,
on
aye,
it.
all the way. Yeah, yeah, no bother. And see, whenever you were starting out or whatever at the dogs, would you breed your own and keep them, or would you buy, or did you not care what way? Just if you seen something, you bought it. If you bred it as well, makes no difference. Or
I've had them out of dog sales. I've had them from everywhere. I've had dogs, and I've watched them for a week or two. And if they're not going to do, they're down the road, really. But you want a dog what's pretty firm, like I like them to be, and work on from there.
yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah.
send them down a bit until you get them to do what you want them to do. It's
All right.
it's a bit technical breaking these young dogs, but it's a thing what, well, if it's bred in you, you do it the same as the dog. As you and the dog has to work as a team.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of farmers don't realize that. I think a lot of farmers think you go out for a month or 2 months and the dog will just be fit to bring in 200 sheep. it doesn't just work that way.
Doesn't, does it? It's just like a get back dog then, and you go out and come by. You want a dog breaking pretty near perfect to win these trials because you're up against some good ones now. Are coming on. These lads are coming on. They're good. Yeah.
All right. No, well, tell me this. I have told a story about you to people that are maybe bringing a dog into me for training, and I tell them a story about you near enough every single time. And I don't know if it's the truth or not the truth, but we won't let a lie get in the way of a good story anyway. But you maybe know what it is. The piano. Do you know what the piano's about? Do you?
The what?
The piano was a story I was told you had said to a boy.
The piano.
I was told years ago that you'd sold a dog to a man and he'd come back to you and said this dog's not going the same way that it was going for you. And I was told,
Oh,
I say, well, it's right or wrong.
yeah. Well,
That's right.
I say when you sell a piano, you don't sell the player with it, you know.
Aye. I tell that story to a lot of people. I said, Jim Cropper said, I sold the piano, I didn't sell the piano player.
Yeah. That's true.
It's true. That's true because the amount of people that think, a dog's just like a car, you turn the key and off you go.
They think it's driving a motor car. That's
Aye.
left, right, and I've sold dogs all over the world. I once took 8 dogs to States in one day. I were going judging and fetch me a dog. I took 8 dogs over and sold them all in the States. They were all happy with them, you know.
Was
Yeah,
it a good payday too?
they with that. Especially when I missed my connection at the airport and I were in the hotel at night with 8 dogs on the lawn and me bottoms all at the hotel.
Yeah. Well, tell me this then. Newcomers, there's a lot of newcomers to the sport. What advice would you give to somebody coming in new to the dogs? Good advice, like.
Common sense is the best advice you can give anybody. If they haven't got common sense, they'll never make it through life. You've got to think a bit, well, like you're hunting something, or if you're going gathering, you got to get your dog in the right position to stop the sheep and outthink the sheep. The sheep will outthink your dog if you're not careful, you know. You've got to be study the job and study sheep. I think that's the greatest thing in life if you can study sheep. They think sheep are not worth studying, but they are. They're very clever. The old sheep will outfox your dog. So I used to make a job of trying to study whichever sheep I were on, Texels, Wildlands, Scotties, any breed. Sit to the car, and I used to watch every run. And now I used to think I won't make that mistake. And you get through studying sheep. A lot of people don't study sheep. They don't watch what they're doing.
Aye. No, funny. I would say to people that sheep aren't stupid. They're only stupid whenever you want them to do something. So whenever you try to do something that they're stupid. No, I think that'd be pretty good advice. I say there's a lot of handlers you see, they come to the trial, they jump out, take the dog, go for a run, and then they head back home again. As you say, you need to stay and watch the runs and watch the sheep.
But they say, like, which is the drive gate, about 2 seconds before they go in, so they haven't been watching nothing. They don't even know they're on the bloody course, you know.
Right. No. Well, tell me this then. I read in the book that you had been down to J.M. Wilson years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a wee bit about that for people listening?
I was winning a lot of trials with my first fleet. I think he'd won 8 trials in succession and been placed a lot. And I was at a nursery trial in Blackpool, and I got this letter through the post. Jimmy Wilson here. I've read so much about your dog, and I had Bill, what was father to it. And he was very interested in the letter, and he wanted to see the dog, and he loved to see it, and getting old, and he couldn't drive so far. And so I was showing Billy this letter. He said, we'll go to Scotland. Well, we gets in this car we get up to Scotland, and said we're to go to Johnny Bathgate's first. We found Johnny Bathgate's place, and Johnny were a nice fellow, family, and lovely dogs. He sent these blooming dogs. You couldn't see them. They were like dots on skyline, and they were absolutely perfection. 2 dogs he had. Bathgate's Rock. That was my dog. And he said, right, he said, across the road, Jock Richardson lives there, Lynn. I said, oh, right. He said, do you want to see him? I said, I can do. So I went across to Jock's. Well, he put this Western cap out. I was only maybe 3-year-old, a beautiful dog. And it were absolute perfection. The Western cap, it were a great dog, you know. Smart, lovely, well-marked, everything were perfection. He were a grand dog. And then we set off then and went to Jimmy Wilson's. And he said to me, run your dog, boy. Like you were like a big fella, 80. Well, how old they were, but anyway, I had to run this dog for him. Yes, he says, very good. I was shouting at it, away, come by, lie down, and all that. And I thought, you gotta say, I'll run you my dogs. He ran Bill first. Anyway, you couldn't hear him whistle, you couldn't hear him speak, and this dog was absolutely spot on. You'd never seen a dog like it in your life, this Bill dog. Anyway, he run me 2 or 3 dogs. I think he run me 3. And he put them back in motor. They were loose on the back of the Land Rover on a flat board, and they never moved. When he put them back, they all sat there. And it stuck in my memory coming back. Like I said to Bill Little, I said, Bill, do you know something? I said, we don't know how to run dogs, you know. I said, I've just watched that with Jock Richardson, Johnny Bathgate, and Jimmy Wilson. They were only a lad, like, but absolute perfection.
Yeah. No, it's do you think, like, I suppose he was elderly at that point, but like, could you just tell by watching him that he was at a different level than anybody else you'd ever seen? Or
oh, yeah. You could tell straight away. His dog come down the field just so smooth at back of sheep and never faulting or nothing. And it just were perfection to watch. Yeah, it was. He were good, were Wilson. He was.
No, it's a shame you can't go back and forth in history. I suppose it's the same as the boxing heavyweights years ago. You know, Muhammad Ali and you have Mike Tyson in the 90s and all. You're always wondering, you know, who in their prime would be the best. And like, that J.M. Wilson, like everybody, I think anybody that knows anything about sheepdogs, like they've heard of J.M. Wilson.
Absolutely perfection to watch him.
So it is.
Yeah.
Well, funny, a lot of them dogs back in them days that have been quite maybe rough coated. But I see a lot of pictures of your dogs, and they seem to be big, strong, smooth-haired dogs. Yeah. Did you have a type, or did you just happen you fell upon them, or?
I had a bit of a type, yeah, but if they were good dogs, it didn't matter whether they were smooth, black, white, tan, red. But I avoided red dogs mostly because I always found that sheep maybe looked a lot at red dogs at top of field sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no. I tend to avoid a lot of red dogs for the simple reason being a lot of people will run to a red dog just because he's red, rather than asking, what's the best dog I can get my hands on? It's Is there a red dog? I think when it's a working dog, and hey, the red dog could be the best dog, and that's fair enough. But I think if you're into working dogs, you should be going for. It doesn't matter what they look like. You should be going for the best dog,
Well, I
the best
think
dog to get your hands on.
I were feeding sheep one day, and a fox come down the field, and it walked through the middle of the sheep, and they still carried on chewing the cud, eating grass, and just looked at this fox. And I thought, well, a red dog isn't going to lift the sheep so good.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, fair enough. Right. Well, tell me this then. There's the present day handlers, but there's also the handlers from the past. So say 2000 and before that. So the 1900s. What three handlers would have stood out to you in that era before the 2000s as being the three handlers that you really, if you were at internationals, that you really needed to have a look at?
I saw Jock Richardson winning that international at Cardiff with Calf.
Uh-huh.
It was just poetry in motion. He was only 18 months old, that dog. And the outrun was terrific at Cardiff. It was a big, big outrun. And somebody said, just watch this young dog. And he went out absolutely great on this big 800-yard outrun. It looked too much for the dog, really, but, he made it look like nothing. And he's coming down the field to the first gate. And everybody said, it won't go back. Did it? It spun on its back legs when he gave it a whistle. Nearly somersaulted and he went back perfect. He was a great dog. He won the international at 18 months. Well, it was 20 months old by the time it ran. It was 18 months when he entered it. And it 20 month old. It was absolute beautiful dog as well. He must have had a million bitches to it. It were that good looking and that style were good, yeah. The Longtons are always around. They always had decent dogs. Tom,
Yeah.
yeah. They were very good with sheep. Were good sheepmen. They were. I always thought they were good sheepmen. They were. And John Gilchrist were a good one.
Yes, yes.
They were all tidy fellows. Yeah, they was. Temple.
Funny, these are names that you're mentioning that if you read back in history, like you hear all these names, like, but it's the likes of yourself you've been lucky enough to see them, whereas the likes of me, I can only read about it.
Well, they didn't film it much then, but
Uh,
you can get films now. But I remember a lot of the runs how they were, yeah.
And then the modern day handlers now, say 2000 onwards, if you were going to internationals, what sort of handlers, what maybe two or three handlers would stand out to you now that you think could stick with the big boys back in the 80s and the 70s and 90s?
Uh, the Longtons are pretty good, mind you. They're passed on. There was a few of them. They were good sheepmen. They had a way of weighing sheep up, yeah. A few Welsh lads, good lads. That Pen Macno was some man. He was a tidy fella. He could put sheep round. He was good. Gwyn Jones, Pen Macno, good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He had a queen, didn't he? A queen bitch that won up there.
He won the international with that. You were always in the team. He had different dogs in the team. He were good with Pen Macno.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and what handlers now then these days? What handlers these days do you think stand out as that you like to see run?
I haven't been to many trials lately, and I haven't seen so many dogs run lately. But I can't. I think the only man is takes some beating now, as I've seen of watched, were Kevin Evans. Seems
Yeah.
the best I've ever seen.
The if you look at the results and the opens, he's usually on with two dogs, never mind one dog. Like he's usually he's usually in the places with both of them.
Second and third and everything, yeah.
All right, all right. No, he's getting on well now. They well, tell me this. You were saying there seems to be a thing now about people starting these dogs young, and they're maybe running nationals at 18 months and 2 years of age. But you're saying about Cap there, he was 20 months, so it was happening back in them days too. Like they were breaking young dogs, and
Yes.
was it just less common in them days, or
It was less common, but he said it was intelligent right from the day I picked it up. It was a stud pup, I think, was somebody called Etherington. I forget who bred him, but anyway, he picked the pup up. And he had a house cow, had Joe Richardson. He used to milk it for his own house,
yeah,
And he said when the pup came, it was only 15 or 16 weeks old, and he fetched his house cow in, and the pup sat at back at the missile, and he milked this cow and gave it a drop of milk. He said the morning after, he said, I got up and opened the door, and the pup were fetching the cow. He said it was that intelligent as soon as it knew what I wanted. And he said it sat there back at Sheepdog every day. I give it a bowl of milk. And he said without telling, the pup knew every day he'd had to bring this cow into milk,
yes,
And he said I were doing a job somewhere on the farm. And he looked down his pasture and it were big. He said it were 500 or 600 yards away. And he saw this pup working the sheep on its own. He said, I think it's time I trained him. So he trained it very young, he said, but it was so intelligent, it could pick things up itself, just really naturally intelligent,
yeah.
Didn't need telling, it knew what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not too many. There's not too many with that intelligence.
Oh, no, he said it was just intelligent from the start, from being little. It knew, it watched every move he made, and it just came into the house at night and lived in the house. And he said it never did a thing wrong all the time we had it. He said it was just, it had no wrongful moves in it,
Just a superstar from the start.
from the start.
No. Well, tell me this then. So when you were at the dogs, you got yourself a pup, 2, 3 months of age. What would you do with it then? How would you go about, talk me through the process of getting it to bit of training done with it? How, when you start?
Well, we have one now actually, and just introduce it to sheep now and then, and keep watching and see when it's ready to start. And the pup will let you know. Usually, a young dog usually wants to get to him, and then you naturally put the stop on him, the left and the right, and to pick it up quite good to some of these young dogs. They're pretty intelligent as pups. And yeah, like I said, there's one now I've just got off Kevin, and I've given my son, and that's started already. It's about 4 months old, and it's looking classy. It is.
Yeah.
But I think the more you take them, and the more they learn. They don't learn nothing's tied up in a stable. You got to keep taking them,
And do you think maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but back 70s, 80s, 90s, there was people maybe on the farm more. The dog was out and about. He was getting more experience out, whereas now they're being taken out to specifically train as opposed to running about the yard at the same time.
Well, you get that like sometimes, but I used to try to, when I went round the sheep at morning, if I were going round with a older dog, I'd chuck a young pup in and watch for it starting. We're bleeping. I don't know what to do. It's still there.
Bad, right?
Yeah, 1 second, it's this.
Hey there.
Sorry. You go.
We're back in favour, are we?
Yeah. No bother, no bother. Aye, so you just would have took a young one along with one of your older dogs on the rounds and waited for him to show you.
Ben, sorry.
You'd have took a young pup along with one of your older dogs then, you were saying, when you were doing the rounds. Just
Oh, yes.
that's how
yes.
you.
That's,
Aye.
yeah.
And
If they've got a brain and you've got to take advantage of everything you see. You know, if you see a little outrun in the dog, just improve on it. And anything to keep the job going. Yeah, keep them.
yeah. And whenever you were picking pups, did you like to see that pup? You know the way sometimes you get a pup and he just naturally casts out around the sheep, or would you have liked one that was a wee bit rougher to start with, or did you not really have a preference?
I didn't have a preference much. I just do like to see an outrun, you know, in the pup.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing when you see a young pup swoop round to the back of the sheep. Yeah, it is.
Especially with the ground you're working with, if they don't have an outrun, they don't have much.
Yeah. Well, I've had them. You put the outrun in some. They get a bit tired of work to train when they haven't got a natural cast, you know, but
Yeah.
they will cast eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was reading the book there because I'd asked your daughter there, Lucy, about how many times you're on the team, and we weren't sure because you've been on the team that bloody many times. So I was reading the book, and the book was the article was wrote about you was in 1996, and you were in the team on the singles, I think, 23 times for England then, and then.
Yeah.
By 2005, you're on it three more times. So that's 26 times by 2005.
Yeah.
And then you're probably on a time or two from 2005. So you're talking the guts of 30 times on the team.
Oh, yeah, but with different dogs, you know, and all. Yeah. Well, it would be different dogs, yeah.
I have a go. Well, so over the years, you've been on the team, say a minimum there of 30 times. You have been international brace champion.
Oh, yeah.
English national champion. You've been reserve supreme, reserve world. English driving champion, it was saying there too.
Yeah.
So you were at the pinnacle of the sport for a long time.
A lifetime. But like I said, I've enjoyed every minute of it, really. And going abroad, New Zealand were a funny thing. They have a different type of dog there, you know, and they just have heading dogs, but they have these here untoways what bark all day long, and they get on your nerves, really, you know.
Yeah. Jeez, I can't stand them. I can't stand them, but I suppose they have a use, but I can't stand them.
Yeah, I'm like that. No, I can't. But they love them. But they look at.
Well, tell me this then as well. Do you notice a big difference now between say young pups you're getting these days? Do you notice a difference in the way they would be on sheep compared to back, 30, 40 years ago? Do you notice a difference?
Yeah, I do think there's a bit of a difference. I think they're nicer bred dogs today. I think they're more today prick-eared, smooth-eared looking dogs than what they were like 40 years ago.
And do you think are they easier trained these days? Do you think, or not, or what way? Or were they maybe more rougher dogs back in them days, or?
Yeah, they're easier trained. I think the more they breed, the little bit better than what they used to be. There were some big rough-haired. Some had no iron style, and they were a different type of dog. They do the job, but not as good as they do today. I think they're getting better and better.
Aye. No, yeah. No bar. And tell me this then. You were saying about your best dogs there. Was there ever a dog you had that maybe? Well, you were saying about that maybe that second fleet, but was there ever a dog that you had that was looking to have a real prospects of being a top dog and then maybe died young or anything like that, or?
I've lost one or two decent dogs and sold one or two I should never have sold maybe, but I mean, I had a dog called Cassis when I were younger. I sold it to Stordy because I had no money. I were a struggling farmer, and I think I should have kept that dog. He was a absolute Western cap type. He were a good dog, him. But sold thousands, well, hundreds of young dogs anyway, what I shouldn't have sold, but you need them.
Aye, it's hard to turn down the money when it's sitting in front of you.
And they're coming off your big money, were big money. And I drew big money, I must admit, for dogs abroad and all over. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, they and have you ever just more or less finishing up? But have you ever judged a national or international, or were you always just running at them with the dogs?
Oh, I judged the international, I judged the national. Yeah. I judged them quite a bit. I've judged all over the world, yeah.
And did you enjoy the judging, or is it just? I
It was,
suppose maybe it's the running.
I'd rather be running.
Aye, it's that buzz is hard to beat.
Yeah, I'd rather be running than judging. But nationals and international, there's always three or four judges with you. You don't judge on your own. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And do you like the way it's done that way, or do you think maybe if they were judging separately, or what way do you think? Are you happy with enough the way it is, or?
I think you have to discuss the runs
Yeah,
you can't judge it separately, really.
yeah,
I think you have to discuss what happens at the top and how the dog's gone there. Now you've got to just converse with each other. Yeah.
aye. No, no, makes sense. No, that's more or less us read up. Uh, I'm just seeing your shirt. We're discussing that at the trial as well. I see you have your shirt well down. We were saying about the photos, but seeing photos and all. I was saying that man he must never feel the cold. Like every time you'd see him, and the shirt's down to here, and the chest is out, and he's standing. There's photos standing on the side of a mountain, and you're thinking,
I know.
we were actually discussing it. There's a photo of you, and there's another man standing beside you, and he's sitting hunched up, more or less froze looking, and you're standing with the chest hanging out. They, uh, we were saying you must never feel the cold.
No, well, it has been said that I'm imperative to cold, but I do feel it now, I'll tell you.
Aye, a different story. No, no bother. Jim Cropper, thank you very much for chatting this. I know there's a few people I've mentioned to that you were coming on, and they're really excited to hear you because I say when you're talking about the greats of sheepdogs over the years, like you can't talk about the greats without mentioning your name, like it's in there, like so. It was great to talk to you, like so. Also, thank you very much.
Thank you. I've had a great